Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mike Elko, Texas A&M, going on the road, playing Notre Dame in what feels like a very important game for Mike Elko during his tenure at Texas A&M. And the reason this might be a little bit of an overreaction, but the reason I look at this game and say feels big is that these are the kind of games that Texas A&M historically has not won. Even go back to last year, year one for Mike Elko. Hey, Texas A&M was taking care of business against a lot of quality teams, but when they bumped up against a team like Texas, bumped up against a team like Notre Dame, they didn't get it done. Can you go on the road, beat a team that just played for a national championship, a team that I firmly think is a top 10 team in the country, and show the college football landscape and show the Texas A&M fans that, hey, Mike Elko, he's the guy that can elevate this program to the spot where we know this program belongs, and that is competing for national championships at the top of the sport. What needs to happen for Mike Elko and Texas A&M to get it done? That's what I want to get into. Before we do it, as always, Texas A&M fans, let it fly in the comment section. Would love to hear the confidence level that Texas A&M fans have going into this matchup. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Many of y'all have been rocking with the boys for a very long time at this point. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I want to get into some matchups from a personnel standpoint that I think can favor Texas A&M in this game, because I do that there are some fundamental differences between the game we're going to see this weekend and the game that we saw 12 months ago in College Station. Before I get into that, I want to talk about the consistency that this Texas A&M team needs to have. Again, two G5 opponents to start the year. You have seen times where Texas A&M looks really, really good. But in both of those football games, you saw the lulls. You saw like this Texas A&M, you kind of just stuck in neutral a little bit on both sides of the football. You don't have the ability to do that on the road against Notre Dame. They're too good of a team to go through the lulls that we've seen Texas A&M go through. We need to see, and that's what should excite Texas A&M fans. We've seen a version of specifically of this Texas A&M offense that can be really, really fun. We got to see that more consistently Saturday night on the road against one of the best defenses in the country. Now, what are the matchups that favor Texas A&M? The biggest difference, and it's not even close, from the matchup we're about to see and what we saw 12 months ago, these wide receivers went from, let's just be straight up about it, Texas A&M's wide receivers last year, bottom tier unit in the SEC. I don't think you can argue that point. Going into 2025 and what we've seen the first 2 weeks of the season, hey, Casey Concepcion, we knew was going to be a hit. He's been that guy. Mario Craver has added a ton of juice to this Texas A&M offense. You have guys this year that can win on the outside in ways that you did not have last year, specifically when it comes to creating explosive plays after the catch. Texas A&M in that football game last year, 50 yards after the catch, period. Texas in that football game against Notre Dame, I should note, through the first two games of Texas A&M's 2025 season, over 300 yards after the catch. We know Coach Colin Klein wants to give opportunities to his playmakers in space. You now have the guys. You have guys that strike fear into an opposing defense in ways you couldn't do in 2024. How well can Coach Colin Klein do of getting the ball to these guys in space? And can Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, can they create game-changing plays when they have the football in their hands? And I don't mean to be sleeping on Ashton Bethel Roman. Don't mean to be sleeping on Terry Bussey. This is a really good secondary. Does Texas A&M have the wide receivers to beat this secondary? At least win some matchups. It ain't no secret what Notre Dame's going to want to do. They're going to play man coverage. That's what they did last year against Texas A&M. Say, hey, we're going to play man coverage, walk the safety in the box. We know your wide receivers can't beat our defensive backs. Can these wide receivers have some wins Saturday night? That's where it starts. Number two, this run game. That's been a little bit choppy, and I think it's been choppy because I don't think Texas A&M really tried to establish the run in either of the first two games, which I'm okay with. I think you're trying to give Marcel Reed some time to acclimate to his new weapons on the outside. Going on the road playing Notre Dame, you make no mistake about it. This is where the identity of this football team has to shine through. And you make no mistake about it, the identity of this offense is what they can do along the lines of scrimmage and how well they can run the football. This is a unique matchup. Look, Notre Dame's front seven is really good, specifically those linebackers. They are a smaller defensive line than we've seen in the past. In fact, they only have two guys that go over 300 pounds in the middle of that defensive line. I'm looking at Texas A&M's offensive line. They basic physics, man. The smallest offensive lineman for Texas A&M is Chase Basantis at 315 pounds. You look at Crownover, you look at Reed Adams, you look at Mark Naboo, you look at Tracy. There is a significant size difference between what Texas A&M has and what Notre Dame is going to be trotting out there. They have to replace a lot of good defensive linemen that are not playing in the NFL. Texas A&M's playing it, and this is just my 2 cents, and I don't know if this is this important of an antidote here. I don't even know if that's the right word. I would like to see a little bit more inside zone. I feel like Texas A&M's been messing around with a lot of outside zone stuff and getting outside the tackles. Your offensive linemen moving east and west in the run blocking department, I don't think serves them the best. I'd like to see a little bit more inside zone where we're letting this offensive line just go right through this defensive line, because that's where I see the advantage. I think we just got bigger bodies and more powerful bodies than what Notre Dame's going to trot out there. Big bodies move small bodies, and I think that is something you are looking at as can Texas A&M overwhelm a smaller Notre Dame defensive line along the lines of scrimmage. Make no mistake about it, if Texas A&M goes on the road and struggles to run the football, it's going to be tough. The other thing is, hey, look at Marcel Reed, man. Marcel Reed working off of play action this year, 87% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns. Look, play action, really fun to use play action. Well, it only really works when you can run the football effectively. You can get that run game going. And I'm not saying you have to run the football for 300 yards in this game, but if you can show you can effectively run the football, open up some play action opportunities, that's going to put Marcel Reed in the best spot to have some success. Now, on the defensive side of the football, the key matchup to look at for me is Cassius Howell. In my opinion, probably the most underrated player in all of college football, a guy that I think will be a first-round NFL draft pick, has had a phenomenal start to the 2025 season, going up against Notre Dame offensive tackles that got their tail whipped against some good edge rushers against Miami. You know, Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, they were putting belt to bottom. And I look at Cassius Howell and say that's kind of the tier of edge rushers I put Cassius Howell in. Cassius Howell, one of the best in the country. When Notre Dame decides to drop back and throw the football, can Cassius Howell go out and win? If he can, look, you ain't dealing with Riley Leonard anymore. You can kind of pin your ears back and try to get after CJ Carr a little bit because he ain't as good as extended plays. Still a good athlete, but he's not Riley Leonard. If you're Cassius Howell, you're pinning your ears back and you're seeing if you can create some game-changing plays, because there was nothing on that film against Miami that showed me that these Notre Dame offensive tackles can deal with somebody like Cassius Howell. That might be the biggest mismatch Texas A&M has on defense. Got to have that shine through on the road Saturday night. Some key stats I'm looking at. Let's talk about this defense real quick. Last year, Texas A&M missed 19 tackles in that football game. There were some opportunities for Texas A&M to kill off some drives, create some negative plays, and they flat out just missed the opportunities. Through the first 2 games, Texas A&M has already missed 22 tackles, and it's been against Utah State and it's been against UTSA. Ain't trying to tackle Jeremiah Love yet. The tackling needs to get better if you're Texas A&M, because Jeremiah Love's going to make you pay. If he makes somebody miss, he ain't just going 10 yards. He's taking it 50 and he's going to take it to the house. If Texas A&M wants to win this game, I promise you, Jeremiah Love will be featured in this game. I think Notre Dame probably looks back on that game against Miami and say, we did not give Jeremiah Love enough opportunities. I believe he only had 10 carries in that football game. They will try to correct that mistake at home Saturday night. You're going to see a lot of Jeremiah Love. And the key for Texas A&M is we know you have the front seven to deal with this run game. That's not a question. The question is we got to be consistent with our run fits, and when we have the opportunity to tackle a guy like Jeremiah Love, got to tackle him. 19 missed tackles last year in this football game. That can't happen if Texas A&M wants to win. The other key stat here, hey, 20-yard plays on offense. This should fire Texas A&M fans up. Talk about the fundamental difference between the offense we've seen so far in 2025, what we saw in 2024. Go back to when this game was played 12 months ago. How many 20-plus yard plays did Texas A&M have on offense? Zero. They didn't have a single explosive play that went for 20-plus yards. So far through 2 games, 16 of them. That is top 5 in the country. This Texas A&M offense, extremely explosive. And let's just be quite frank about it. This is a Notre Dame defense that it's just too good to methodically work the football down the field every single drive. I would be stunned if either of these offenses are just going up and down the field. So the best way to bail yourself out is, can you have those game-changing plays? Those plays that go 20-plus yards, give you points up on the board. When you have guys like KC, Mario Craver, Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens, Terry Bussey, you just got so many more guys that can be explosive when they get their opportunities. You're going to have to find some explosive plays in this game. You didn't have any last year. You got to have a few in this one. That can be the difference in this game. In fact, that might be the difference in this football game. X factors, the players that maybe nobody's talking about that I think is important. Number one, big Albert Regis in the middle of that defensive line. Albert Regis ain't ever going to get the respect he deserves. Probably Texas A&M's best presence in the run game. And he's not going to fill up the box score, but you talk about eating up some double teams and you talk about allowing your linebackers to come free and downhill. That's Albert Regis, man. He's going to have to be good. He's going to play a lot because Notre Dame's going to try to run the football, and he's going to have to be exceptional in the middle of that defensive line. And whoever's playing that slot wide receiver role, whether it's going to be a guy like Mario, whether it's going to be a guy like KC, whoever plays that slot, Notre Dame's boundary cornerbacks are about as legit as it gets. And I'm not saying Texas A&M can't have some times where they win on the boundary. I'm looking at that slot, that nickel corner. Right, that's where Miami attacked him. Nobody thought Miami was going to have success throwing the football. Well, true freshman Malachi Toney had some words for that and had a really good day as a slot wide receiver for Miami, working against a guy like Carson Hobbs from Notre Dame. Whoever's there, that's probably where you want your success to come from, the passing attack. They're probably going to move guys around. You'll see KC there. You'll see Mario Craver there. Whoever gets those opportunities, because you're going to see some man coverage, they got to go out and win. Like, if there's a weak link on this football team in the secondary, probably going to be that nickel spot. Can your slot wide receivers take advantage? It's a fundamentally different game, right? Last year, Texas A&M did not have the ability to be two-dimensional. They just didn't have the passing attack. Connor Wigman wasn't good enough. The wide receivers weren't good enough. We think the wide receivers are better this year. We think the wide receivers are a lot better this year. They're going to have to be good in this game if Texas A&M wants to go on the road and beat Notre Dame. That's the story. We kind of know. I don't think I said anything groundbreaking in regards to analysis on this football game. It's going to be about execution, which has bitten Texas A&M in the butt at times. This is the opportunity for Mike Elko to show that this is a team that can go on the road against one of the best teams in the sport, execute, win a football game, because we know they can. They have the players to do so. Close it out there. Fired up for this one. We're going to learn a lot about both of these teams Saturday night. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.